Hey guys, this is Urban Surfer coming at you from North Texas. It's been a while since I've streamed here on Twitch, but now that the NBA finals are over and I got a summer vacation out of my way, try to start streaming on here a little bit more often. But I've got a couple tables of NL 200 fired up, and once I see some more tables open up, I'll try to open up a couple more. I just want to mention that if you're interested in getting coaching at any point, just contact me at urbansurferpoker@gmail.com. And if you have any questions during the broadcast, then feel free to chime in using the chat feature. So I just joined one table here, so I haven't really got to play any hands really yet. So since I last broadcasted, I'm back at work now, full time, and then some. Like my counterpart has actually been. He's actually expecting his first child now, and so he's been spending a good amount of time actually with the hospital because there's been not necessarily complications, but just things were progressing a little bit too quickly, so we had to just make sure and monitor and make sure that both the baby and mom are doing okay. So he's working from home a lot and or working from the hospital a lot as well. So I've been really busy with work, and it's kind of another reason why I haven't really been broadcasting as much. But I've still been playing a good amount, about 80 to 100 hours a month or so. Had a good month in May. This current month, I guess, rather, in June. Have not been running well, so pretty much a break-even month this month. But I've got 7-6 suited here. The guy is short under the gun. I'm tempted to squeeze, but I'll just flat here. Sometimes I will. If he was full stack, I definitely would try to squeeze there, but I think there's a lot of times where he'll just have a hand that he'll go with there and ship it over the top of me. So as I mentioned before on these broadcasts, I like to try to make my first 3-bet a bluff. But sometimes the circumstances will kind of dictate otherwise. So. And I'm hoping that I got the archive feature set right to where you guys will be able to view this. I think we're up to a couple weeks after the broadcast. I know there were some requests for that. Hopefully I got it set up right. Got aces here, bottom left. Haven't played a hand yet, so most likely I'll get a lot of respect. There's a couple other things I wanted to show you guys. This is 2+2. I've got a running thread on here. Feel free to look me up on there, Urban Surfer. And then I've also got just a couple of videos on YouTube. At some point I may put some more on there, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But Urban Surfer on there as well. Bottom left here, we've got overcards there. It's unlikely that that flop hit them. When the turn hits there, I'm still gonna fire again here. I've got at least the diamond draw in case he does have a top pair hand he's going to continue with, but it's not a great diamond draw, but hopefully I can fold out some of that there. And I've got an inside straight draw as well. But just the fact that I'm continuing when the diamond hits there looks pretty strong. Sometimes with King Jack offsuit, I'll 3-bet this, and I might actually, since this guy is pretty active so far. I mean, there's only 10 hands, but it looks like he's an active player, knows position pretty well. So he's probably doing this pretty light. So this is, for value here. Do keep in mind a little bit that I was active in that previous pot, so they're going to be a little bit more inclined to look me up here. So I'm going to keep that in mind, but it's a pretty safe flop there to continue on. It's pretty hard for him to continue unless he really just wants to float there with overcards. So part of the thread on 2+2 and things I like to mention on here are a lot of the proceeds that I'm using or that I make on poker I use towards updating our house that we just moved into at the beginning of the year. So since we last broadcasted, we've had the exterior painted, got some new shutters built and painted and put on as well. Wife did a lot of landscaping and everything, and then we just had got a lot of my son's artwork and everything framed and put up in our playroom and everything. So I'll try to get some pictures of that on the 2+2 thread within the next few days or so. Not a great flop for ace-10 suited up here. Especially since he lumped in. I'll just check this back. He's playing a wide range of hands, and it's most likely that hit him, and it's not necessarily a flop I want to double barrel on, triple barrel on, or anything like that. I've been pretty active bottom left. This guy's playing super tight so far, especially now that I pair up. No need to bet it. Trying to think if there's any value on the river here. I'll go for super thin, low value here. Let's see if I get looked up by a smallish pair there. Okay. Open under the gun with Jack 8 suited. Sometimes with a hand like this that I like to build multi-way pots with, I'll min raise here and still get a decent amount of respect. And don't get 3-bet too often. If anything, you just end up getting a lot of calls, which is perfect for this kind of hand. Battle of Blinds, I'm pretty aggressive, and most people are at the stake anyway. So, especially with this guy is very tight. Looks like so far. Min raise under the gun. I'll definitely call there. Probably should ask this sooner, but let me know if the audio sounds all right. Or sometimes in the past I've had issues with it, so I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. Okay, there's a request. Set up the stream so the tables went horizontally next to each other, so you can size them up significantly. Sorry, I timed out here. All right. Still waiting. Maybe another table now. Let's see. Oh yeah, Den, you wanted me to size them up too. I don't know that I'll be able to fit 3 on there with them both being sized, with all 3 of them being sized up. No, you're on iPad. Okay. Yeah, it may be tough for you to see all 3 or 4. Once I get 4. But it will be archived, hopefully, assuming I did it right, to where, you know, once you get on either laptop or desktop, you can see it better. But okay, so one of the questions in the chat, I figure I'll talk about through. It'd be easier to kind of talk on here rather than type it, but was about the ace 10 hand. Fat Kid from Up, I think, had it. So he said, you know, he'll normally see bet that 100% of the time. The flop was something really low and wet. You know, I think it was like 7-6-4, 2 diamonds, either 7-6-4, 7-5-4, same thing. So the reason why with ace 10 there, I don't really see bet that, you know, almost just kind of give up there. The guy has a super wide range, and that hits his limp calling range pretty hard. I don't see him folding much there without me having to fire multiple barrels, and that kind of banks on me having to hit. You know, a 10 would be ideal to hit a 10 there. If I hit an ace, you know, it's possible he limped with a, you know, ace rag and hits, you know, has a 2 pair there. So I don't always do it. You know, if it's a tighter player, although a tighter player is not necessarily going to limp there, but you know, that's the way that I play it. I feel like I don't see bet 100% of flops, and that's definitely the percentage that I don't see bet on. It's just too wet. I feel like it's almost like a waste of a C bet. You know, the only time I'm going to be able to continue is if I hit there. It's also going to depend on my image too. You know, if I've already been C betting a lot, definitely not going to C bet that one. I'm just going to be more inclined to be looked up there. And a lot of times I'll check behind there in order to kind of bluff catch too. You know, so I could check back there, and then depending on what the turn was, you know, call there even with just ace high and be good some of the time there. But yeah, I just don't see folding out a lot there. Let's see if I can at least make this one bigger for you guys. Until I get a 4th one up, but So one of the other questions was about, bankroll. Let's see, it was Den, who was phone, which is an interesting name. I always like, where how people come up with screen names and what the reference are. So I'm not sure what that reference is. So if you can explain it, or if there is some significance to it, please let me know. But anyway, Den's question was about, he has, I think, a $3,500 bankroll. When should he move up to NL 100? And my response in the chat was, should already be there, unless you're playing, where poker is your main source of income, and that you're living off it and everything like that. You can get away with, at these lower to mid stakes, having 20 buy-ins. That's what I play with. I always cash out down to where I have 20 buy-ins to play. I'm obviously down a little bit for the month, but I don't really dip below, even at the NL 200. I don't really get below, my bankroll doesn't get really below 3K hardly ever. So I could even get away with probably even less than that if I wanted to, but I've never had to buy back in, just keeping it at that 20 buy-in limit. So for me, that's it. Now, if you're just starting off and and you won't have any money that you can reload on here for a while, then you may want to wait till you get a little bit more than 20, maybe 30 at most. I don't see needing much more beyond that. Now, as you climb stakes and the edges get smaller and smaller, and it gets more competitive and more competitive, especially if this is, if poker is providing with a large percentage, if not all of your income that you're living off of, then yeah, definitely you probably want to be at like the 40 or 50 buy-in range at least. But one of my mistakes was just being too much of a life nit and not moving up in stakes fast enough. And I think I read an article by, I can't remember if it was Jason Somerville or somebody, it may have been him, that was just talking about how that's a mistake. Not taking shots enough is a mistake, and that really kind of resonated with me because I didn't, I got so comfortable at the limit that I was at and just thought I couldn't play at the next limit. So top left, I'm going to barrel that since it's a scare card there, and he'll give me credit for a decent amount of time. Now that I get called again, he may not. It's close. I will actually try to triple bear him, rep the king. I don't do it too often here. On the right here, it's a really dry board. He actually floated me and hit a king. That's really unlucky, but I'll peel one here. The raise, I don't really represent a whole lot. He is a pretty tight player, so kind of regret doing that now. It's a pretty dry board too, so probably gonna get shoved on here. So over here, I mean, the reason why I fire the river there is if he has 10s, jacks, 9s, he's gonna he's probably gonna call on the turn a decent amount of time. Not all the time. Some people will fold there, but once I bet again on the river, they'll fold those. But the fact that he floated and happened to hit a king is just really unlucky, I think. So when he leads out that big on the turn when the flush hits, I've got to think that he has a pretty good hand here. I'm not worried about King 10. If he has King 10, then so be it. But I just got caught bluffing. Image is not the greatest, so I'm gonna get looked up fairly light. So there's no reason to slow play now. I don't even have a full stack now. I just realized that too. So okay, now he either has a flush. I'm really hoping he has a king here now. I mean, I was hoping he had a flush there on the turn, but flush is pretty useless now. So but what I do have going for me is I got caught triple barreling. It's an unfortunate river card. Just scares away too much there. If he has a king, he'll call there, but all right. So here I check the bottom left to bluff catch because a lot of times a smaller pocket pair will call and then they'll bluff at it on the turn there when they get counterfeited. That's a big bet. If he was doing that with the small pocket pair there, I think he would have done it on the turn, not the river. I feel like he checked line to be tricky. At the very least, I think I'm chopping here. So never good to call when you just expect to chop at best, or very best, I should say, not very least. Yeah, also going back to the scene, I should have been a little bit more aware. I've been pretty active as well in a few pots recently, so it was just not a great decision to try to raise that draw like it did. Pretty good board to see that on. Pretty unlikely he connected with it. Does have a low fold to see bet rate so far, although it's still 11 hands. But so yeah, Fat Kid from Up is talking about the 9-10 hand where I flop trips, turned about, and then rivered quads. So if you're just calling there on the turn, you're really limiting the top end of your value there. You're never gonna get full stack, and I only had half a stack there. It was hard enough to get it in. I just don't know. I don't know that there's enough people there that'll really or enough. I don't know if there's enough. You're just never going to get it in. They'll end up calling whatever. Let's say you raise on the river, unless you just overship it, there's not gonna you're never gonna get a full stack in there, hardly even half a stack. So, given all the things, especially since my image was so bad from getting caught in a bluff, I definitely felt comfortable raising a sizable amount there. And the fact that he let out almost full pot into me when the flush hit told me that he either had a flush and was worried he was going to check behind, or maybe has a pair with a nut flush draw. That it didn't look like he was going anywhere there. So, um, sometimes you can't overthink it and try to be too tricky and be like, well, I'm going to scare him away if I raise here with the top end of my value range here, because then you're just never, if you never do that with the top end of your value range, you're never going to get paid the full amount. So yeah, you don't want to do it every single time you have the top end of your range, for sure, but you got to do it a good amount of the time. Another question is, how much have you made this year and how many hours do you play on average? I've made about 20 grand or so so far this year. How many hours I play on average has varied quite a bit. So when this is a part-time for me, I have a full-time day job. So the time so far this year where I was working full time, before my son was born, I was playing anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a month. And then once my son was born, I was on paternity leave. I was playing, I think, around 140 or 150 hours or so. So I got to play a little bit more, and more than that, I was able to play later, at night, where I think the players are a lot worse. So my win rate was a lot higher doing that, I think. But the 3 months that I was on paternity leave, I made 15 grand in those months alone. So all at one too. Since it checked all the way down, I think I can bet here for value and get paid off by queen. Maybe a curious pocket pair. Actually, this guy plays a wide variety, so I think that's definitely possible. Pocket pair, even a 5 on the river, probably pay me off there. So the reason why I bet here with 10-4 is my hand's so vulnerable here. I'm betting basically to take it down. If I get called, I know I'm beat. But there's just, if I check back there, if he has a 5 all the way up through a king there, he can hit, and obviously a flush draw too hits. So I'm betting just to kind of take it down. So I fly here just to let him hang himself a little bit more. Also running the risk of a heart coming like it did. Um, I'm not really too concerned about the heart, to be honest. Now I'm more concerned about another heart coming, so I'm gonna go ahead and ship it at this point and hope he has ace queen, ace jack, all of which I don't think really necessarily lay it down. But the real danger is there, just calling there, another heart landing on the river. Even if he has just, let's say it's pocket deuces with the deuce of heart there, that that's just absolute worst case scenario there that I just let get there. So it's almost a similar concept as the previous hand, of just locking in the value and protecting the hand. All right, this guy's got such a wide range. I can see bet this with, even if I get called there, I'm not too concerned. I'll go for another thin kind of value bet here. And he's gonna have an ace here some part of the time, but he'll have random 9, random 7 a good amount of time as well. So here I'm not as worried about checking behind, because the fact that I have a club blocker is going to, it's going to help me catch up, if he's ahead of, or it also protects against overcards that he might hit. So that's why I check back there. But still looking for that fourth table. And really, I try to table select. It's kind of hard to do while I'm also broadcasting and talking and everything like that. But really need to get off one of these tables. It's pretty nitty. Go for like a thin value bet here. Also, I mean, I have a spade, but it's a pretty low one, so I want to at least pay him if all he has is a naked spade. Or not pay him, I want to charge him if he has just a naked spade that's higher than mine, but he wants to continue with. So it's an interesting spot here. Very interesting spot. I think I'll try to pick a better one. I'm very curious. He played it really well. So if you had it, it's almost a tip your hat scenario. But without getting it there on the turn. Yeah, he hit on her. That's that's pretty impressive that he was able to go for thin value like that with the flush on the board. I guess my bet size was a little bit of a tip to him, but normally once somebody shows me their hand, I normally try to always tell them nice hand. Big fan of free information for sure. For some of you guys, that may have been an insta fold. It's just it really didn't. He didn't really rep a whole lot. I mean, Jack 4 makes sense. The fact that he hit that a good amount, it makes a good amount of sense. Not complete sense, but it looked very awkward. And if he did it with a flush intending that, then that would have been a perfect play. That's why I said that. But so that's what gave me a lot of pause there before throwing it away. Turn that ace-3 into a bluff and folding out worse hands and only getting called back better. Go with folding to a fourth heart. This isn't a great spot. Like, I feel like that he calls on the flop. He's not folding to any turn bets there. So, I don't have a ton of equity. I have overs, some of which may not even be good if he has queen jack or ace jack there, although it did limp in. I don't really like c betting and folding either, but that kid from Up said he just went all in four-way with kings against some mainly random garbage, which I'm shocked the kings held up in a four-way pot with all the random garbage. Seems to always, somebody seems to always spike something in that case, but. Here I'm just kind of priced in. It doesn't matter what two cards fit. The fact that it's a min raise and a call there, I'm gonna call with just about anything. this table is not very good, so I'm going to try to get off of it. I'm going to pot control here. I think it is possible he limps with random aces. That might beat me, so. Ooh, it's a big bet. I don't know. I'm not crazy about that. I put myself in a little bit of a spot by doing that, obviously, but. I'm gonna look him up. Yeah, good round on going for thin value there. I kind of set myself up for that by checking that and kind of looking weak. I kind of wish I'd bet the turn again, and then I could have had a better idea where I was at. So that was. I don't like how I played that hand. I didn't think he'd go that strong necessarily with a ace rag like he did. But good on him for doing it. I normally don't post out a position like this either. I'm just trying to keep the action going for you guys. I'd also thought a little bit, and this is more kudos to him for doing it. He'd shown that previous hand, showed down that he had two pair and everything. Sometimes people do that, so they'll end up being able to bluff you later. So that kind of played into my decision a little bit as well. That combined with I didn't think he'd play ace rag that slightly beats me as strong. I thought it was more like a two pair or misdraw, scenario, or by me checking the turn, I'd make him turn his hand into a bluff and everything. So got the nut flush draw here. It is a one card flush. I don't see a whole lot of. I think this bet sizing, if I raise it up big here, that's kind of his plan. So I assume he has a random ace there. I'll call for tiny amount there. Try to hit my one card flush. I should have bet a little bit more there. I was kind of hoping to induce a little bit of a raise, or wasn't planning on going away. last hander at this table is just definitely too nitty. I don't always do this here, but I want to pick a spot early in the session where I 3-bet somebody that I think has a likelihood to, early in their session, not early in mine, where they have a high propensity to fold there, and then we'll progressively kind of tighten up that range to where I get paid off. So. Another table I just started here. So bottom left, I mean, that's not the greatest turn card with this guy's range, but I can't assume that he has it. You know, I don't want him to get, you know, if he called him a flop with overs and then just give him a free shot at hitting one of those overs on the river, so I can under bet it. And he won't, I don't think he's the type of player that would punish me too much, especially since he's very passive. You know, against a reg, they'd be able to exploit that, obviously, and I wouldn't always play it that way. It's just that was more of a player dependent. Definitely don't always, you know, steal with this. It's early in the session now, and go ahead and start with that. Since I'm under the gun here, I think they're going to give me a good amount of credit with that board and fold out a lot of smaller pairs. So. I don't always 3-bet in this spot up here. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I didn't really have a too much of a rhyme or reason why he did it this time. That's right. I probably should have flatted there. I just 3-bet the guy light earlier. Yeah, probably should have picked a better spot to do that. Just flat. And he is very active there. This guy's pretty active 3-betting as well. I'm wondering if he was doing that. It seemed like a pretty safe flop to barrel. I should just check behind. Sometimes people will just check fold though, you know. But that play that he did, I like that. I like doing that a good amount myself. It's a good way to get people to fold out, you know, the weaker made hands. You know, let's say if you just had, you know, overs there, it's a good way to do that. But then for your value range, it's a good way to get protection if you don't have a heart there. Or a diamond there, not a heart. I'm gonna peel here. It's not the greatest card. You know, I thought it's a fairly drawy board, so I thought, you know, there may be some draws in his range there that he might be doing that with, but then once the jack hits on the river, that's not the greatest. It takes away some of that, obviously. But I called him 2 spots. That's pretty dry flop. Bottom left with king 8 there. So just gonna give up. And obviously top left. I was betting because he has a fairly high fold to the c-bet ratio. So you just have call with absolutely nothing and get and hit. So that's interesting. Something to keep in mind. Fourth table here. Let me shut off the webcam just so you can actually see that fourth table. Bet on the button here with 90 suited. Squeeze bottom right with king queen suited. I'm just continuing bottom left because that's a pretty safe board to continue on. If I get called, obviously you have to shut down. A lot of times folks, whenever they call 3-bets, it's very fit or fold on the flop. So okay, bottom right. Set is possible. I'm definitely not folding. I don't know if a worst two pairs possible really, but maybe it is. Pair plus ace plus flush draw is possible. Just hit. Same hand obviously is possible too. I think there's any value in betting this here. I think maybe, I don't think so. Yeah, no way he's calling. He just turned his hand into a bluff on the the turn. So. That's something to keep in mind there, that he was. So yeah, the question was, it took a while to get four tables going, and not all the time it does, but this it's kind of hard for me to actively monitor the lobby while talking, and playing and everything like that. So that's probably part of the reason for it. But I don't really mix in any different stake levels. I think it's definitely possible. Obviously, a lot of people do it. I don't think it's optimal because, at least for me, I have the tendencies of NL200 down pretty well. And that just throws another element in there to try to remember, okay, this is NL100, the tendency for this situation slightly different than NL200. So I try to play this one stake at a time whenever I'm playing. And if I'm going to take a shot at something, I'll close down all my tables and just play, one, maybe two tables of that, just so I can really focus. But I know I'm in the minority with that. A lot of people play a variety of different stakes, so. Yeah, what do you guys think about the ace jack hand? On the river, obviously I check behind. Any value in betting there? I mean, there's obviously ace five and ace whatever the other lower card was. I forgot on the flop. They might look me up. Even let's say it's quarter size pot bet or something. But you guys would you guys have played it differently, or would you play it the same way? Top right, 3-bet. It's a really good looking flop for me to continue on. I expect him to continue with any medium-ish pairs there. Just because I get called on flop doesn't mean I shut down on the turn. And if I got jammed on there, then most likely I'd fold. Only one card to come, and most likely he has, king, queen, or sometimes ace king there a good amount of the time. So. big bet. I mean, only thing I think is he slow played to pair there. I'm gonna look him up. It's too big of a bet. Looks like a bluff. Yeah. Just didn't rep much there. I mean, ace queen, but I don't know that ace queen plays the hand the way that they did. I thought it would have raised me on the flop or turn, you know, I lead out into him, but he just seems to be a pretty active player. One thing that I think is worth mentioning is, you know, since I just showed down that I won a pot with an ace there, the very next hand, you know, an ace is on the flop. There's just like a psychological tendency for players to kind of give you even more credit. Um, oh, he just won with an ace. Ace came on the flop. He's betting. He must have an ace again. There's just it's real easy to have that kind of thinking. So I want to take advantage of that. I mean, I'm still probably c-betting that flop most of the time anyway, but I just thought that was kind of a little bit worth mentioning. Any reads on the guy, the ace jack hand? No, there weren't any reads on him. It was really early in the session. The only read that was on me, obviously, was I'd squeezed with king queen suited. You know, this maybe the second hand I sat down at the table. So I thought that, you know, there's a chance that he thought that I was being a little bit overly aggressive and that he could push me off the hand. But there's no way I'm folding to a check raise on the turn there with top two, just for at least one street. River, I'll contemplate it. You know, had he shoved there on the river, that's a pretty darn tough call without any history of the guy. I probably lay it down on the river there. But since he doesn't have the flush, you know, the fact that I call on the turn, he's got to give me some sort of credit for having the flush on the river. So you can't really bluff that. You know, the bluff in the turn made a little bit of sense because he's probably thinking that I'm a reggish type of player, which I am obviously, and that I'm going to fire since that ace came on the turn again with, you know, my bluff range. So, you know, he thinks that he can check raise me there and get me to fold that. I think his play is I'll do it occasionally. I'll turn my medium-ish pairs into a bluff just to get the hands that slightly beat me to fold there. Although I wouldn't have done it in that spot because the hands that are slightly better than mine, that I mean, I guess he's thinking like a single pair ace might fold there. But it's a great card for me here. Worst river card. Just because this guy's active is why I call it with the 9-7 suited there. I'm really glad he checked there. So. Since I checked back the flop there, which I don't know why I did, to be honest, maybe because I was talking through the other hand, I thought he'll be firing there with anything. So since I actually paired up, I wanted to look him up for one street. Bottom left, against this guy, he's got a wide range. I know it's battle of the blinds, but I'm gonna fire there with, even if he has like a pair here, that's, let's say his pair of sixes there, I'm just gonna keep firing at some point. You know, I hope he will fold that, and then I can also hit my diamond. I want him to fold out all of his diamonds, you know, single diamonds. Obviously, he's not gonna fold any flushes or anything like that. So the more I keep firing at that, the more likely he'll fold those out. Just in case he has top pair and calls me down there, I can still hit that diamond. So that's kind of my approach on that. This guy's low pre-flop raise, but he's stolen both opportunities he's gotten, so that's why I'm three betting. Do I raise queen ten offsuit under the gun? No, I don't. Definitely don't. At some point, you gotta draw the line. I get, you know, a min 4 bets. If he had a full stack, I'm calling this in a heartbeat. Since he's a short stack, it kind of reduces the payoff when I actually hit a hand, you know, my implied odds and everything like that. So I might just, golly, yeah. Try to isolate this short stack here. He's still stealing every opportunity he has there. I'm gonna float on the button with that. I normally see about this. I think I was just distracted with the other hand. Still getting used to getting back in the swing of things, talking and playing at the same time. But if I had eights here, I probably would have done the same thing I did last hand. Sevens, eights, it's kind of borderline. So just gonna go ahead and get it into dry board. He's short stack, so. Pretty unlucky. It's good to remember that though, that he underbet it when he hit, you know, flopped the monster, obviously. So I normally wouldn't just call here, but given the odds I'm getting, I will call. You know, if it was just a single raise under the gun. Um, okay, so we're talking about the ace jack hand again. Stacked is saying he'd value bet 1/3 pot on the river. I think worst aces can call for the right price. Yeah, I think it's possible. You know, I was contemplating just betting quarter pot, you know, thinking that might be the right price for, you know, aces to do that. I don't know. The only thing that would check raise me on the turn there, I don't know that a naked ace check raises me like that, would be the ace, you know, that had the flush draw along with it. I would think a naked ace, and also I don't know that many naked aces would just float on the flop, unless, again, they had the flush draw. So I don't know. I think that's what made me discount the possibility of them having that. And then the action, you forgot about the action. So the action was on the flop, I see bet, he called, and then on the turn, I see bet, he check raised about maybe a little over 3x or so. It's a very small 3-bet size. I'm in position of definitely calling that. He has enough behind. I'd like him to have more behind, but he has enough behind where I can still hit. But yeah, I want check raise on the flop, or check raise on the turn, and then check on the river. I check behind. This guy's been pretty active. This, you know, it was a short stack. He obviously doubled up through me. So, you know, I'm thinking this is for value most of the time. I'll call it here, just try to flop a big hand. If I hadn't just 3-bet, I would consider possibly squeezing there too. But lot of times this is a see where I'm at kind of bet, like with a smallish pair. So when I raise and I take it down a lot of time, doesn't mean it happens every single time, but it's normally more in heads up pot. That's why I paused a little bit doing it, but you know, I still have overs I can hit if he calls, and most likely have overs. In gross speeding, I see your note about I don't even get all the stats showing when we have 20-30 hand sample, and there's no note taking whatsoever. Are you talking about hold'em indicator, or I don't even get all the stats showing? I'm not sure I follow what you're asking or what you're saying. So if you could clarify a little bit more, maybe I can get some insight. For those that may have joined late, I just want to mention again, I do offer coaching. If you're interested, then give me a shout here at urbansurferpoker@gmail.com. And also, I've got a YouTube channel. I haven't put a video on there in a while, but I might try to do that sometime soon. And then I've also got a thread on 2+2. I don't know that I fold out anything here, top left. Let me check call, I'm trying to think. Yeah. So yeah, on 2+2, maybe I would have folded out. Now that he folded so fast on the river. On 2+2, I have a thread here. Feel free to come follow along. The premise of it is, you know, using the poker money to do various updates on our house that we just got at the beginning of the year. So I post pictures of those, and also I try to document my progress on there. Although it's been a few weeks since I think I've done that. I've gotten away from it just with the NBA finals and then going on a trip. Went to San Diego with my dad and my brother for like a Father's Day trip. So I've gotten a little bit away from that. I need to put some updates in there, but couple of shorties here still. And this guy posted. Sometimes people will post and realize they posted out of turn. Yeah, that's what he did. Oh well. What they'll do is they'll post out of turn and then realize, oh great, I need to raise it up or else I'm gonna get raised. And actually, I normally raise here. I didn't click on my touchpad there trying to move the mouse and actually checked. But yeah, if somebody limps in and the small blind completes, I raise there with a wide range. This guy's got such a wide continuing range. I might entertain a call here on the river if he leads out. Now I'm trying to figure out if I should entertain a bet. Let's go for some thin value here. Not sure what to make of this top left. I don't beat a whole lot. All this guy's wide range pre-flop. We lead out there with a worse king once the queen hits. He's fairly aggressive. It's close. It's very close. I think I will. Thought I would have gone for a little bit more if he had actually had a queen, but I don't think there's any use in going through with a triple barrel here. I'm just gonna get called. Oh, I was wrong. I can't remember if I actually thought I c-bet that flop too. Maybe I checked back the flop, but this part of the reason why I called here. This was a little bit. I'm pretty sure I play with this guy almost every night, just with his stats the way they are. If not, maybe there's a couple people out there that happen to just play this way, but he's known to overvalue kind of a pair, in that spot and just try to get value. That's why I thought he might be trying to get value there from jacks, tens. I mean, he doesn't raise anything pre-flop hardly at all. A lot of times he'll just flat with those, so that kind of played into my thinking there. I thought if he had actually had a queen, he would bet a little bit larger than that, but it was tough spot. check the tables here. Yeah, a couple of them I should have already been off of anyway. Sometimes when I'm on like a nitty table like this one is, and I do have a loose passive person to my right, I'll stay just for that person. But not all the time. It helps if the players on the table are really kind of tight passive, because then I can raise and ISO, raise under the gun and ISO them when they're in the blind without, getting 3-bet that much. But those guys are fairly reggish, as far as their stats goes, and they would probably start to pick up on me doing that and 3-bet me more the more I try to do that. Four-way, I don't think I'm going to see that flop, even though it's somewhat safe to. I raised under the gun, but and I just checked the Poker Players streaming live online. Looks like I'm 5th on that right now as far as number of viewers. So thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. I always like to look at that and just kind of see who all's on there and everything like that. So appreciate the interest. Getting off this table. While we're waiting for me to fill up some more tables, let's see if I can expand both of these for you guys. So here on the right hand side here, I go for the check raise here. I would do it with my top value range anyway. If let's say I flopped a straight there, set there, turn into a vote there, play it the same way. But I started noticing that you get a lot of folds playing it that way. So I start mixing in some of my bluff range too. And that helps with the non-showdown value. I'm used to playing with it this large. It's kind of nice though. So the question in the chat is, what HUD is that? It's Hold'em indicator is the HUD. And then another question is, am I still doing the 2+2 post? Did I get the house? Yes, we did get the house. Moved in early this year, and I started a newer thread. I don't know if you're talking about the first thread I did about saving up to get the house, but we did get the house, and now I've got a new thread about updating the house using the poker proceeds to do that. So it's right here. So saving to update house. I think the other one was saving to buy house, something like that. But I don't know if there's any sports fans out there, but when I went to San Diego, one of the main reasons we picked San Diego was my dad's a huge baseball fan, so my brother and I surprised him before, took him to Chicago, went to Wrigley Field. He's already been to San Francisco. We've been to the old Yankee Stadium. He's been to Fenway. He's been to a couple other ones as well. Just can't think of them off the top of my head, but. So, San Diego, he's never been to that part. We've heard it's really nice. And then also they're playing the Dodgers, and we found a time that we knew Kershaw would be pitching for the Dodgers. So he was always a huge Dodgers fan. He loved Sandy Koufax, and now that Kershaw is being compared to him, we thought that would be just icing on the cake. And sure enough, he loved that. It was pretty cool. We got a lot of pictures out there, and we got decent seats. And then also, I'm a big Dallas Maverick fan. We're trying to most likely shake up the roster this year, is what it's looking like, because we got Monta Ellis opting out, and we're trying to go after LaMarcus Aldridge, so we have to move some pieces for that to happen. I'm not sure, but I read that Jerry Jones and Tony Romo and Des Bryant are going to help try to recruit folks like LaMarcus Aldridge and everything like that, so they're going to be on the recruiting trail with them. Thought that was pretty awesome. Started another table here, so I'll start sharing that. Size these again. This guy cold called my 3-bet. Got a pretty low fold to 3-bet rate though, so. Not a great turn card necessarily. I don't like that raise. Probably shouldn't even call it to begin with because there's only one card to come, and there's also a better straight possible, so could be drawn for a chop. This guy's been pretty active, pre-flop. I think he was the one that folded early. Like he posted that position, raised, and then folded my 3-bet. So. See if I can find a fourth table again. While we were there in San Diego, my dad actually did get stung by a stingray. Looked pretty painful. That was definitely a downer for the trip, but it stung a lot for like the first hour or so, but he was still able to walk on it, you know, throughout the rest of the day and the rest of the trip at least. We didn't go hiking like we planned. We wanted to go hiking up in kind of Torrey Pines area, but he was still able to kind of get around town. But yeah, he and my brother just got into the water for like the first time on the trip, and then about 5-10 minutes he came running back in. You know, thought he got bit by something. And, it's like a small puncture wound, but you know, he did lose a decent amount of blood. There was like a trail of blood all the way from the shoreline to where our rental house was. We had a rental house that was just one house off the boardwalk there on Mission Beach. and it looked like a crime scene. You know, my brother was trying to wash up all the blood off of the floor area of our house, and got some funny looks as people were walking by. But we had a great time. The weather was, other than it being cloudy, or even with it being cloudy, I should say, the weather was just beautiful, and the water wasn't too cold. Just wasn't able to surf as much as I would have liked just with that. And then we had some plumbing issues the next day that we were trying to fix, because we were worried we wouldn't get our deposit back. So spent a good amount of time on both of those. That kind of conflicted with the time we planned on surfing some, but drove up through La Jolla area. I got to see the seals there at La Jolla Cove Beach, and watched one of the finals games there at one of the bars. It was pretty cool. Probably wrap up the stream here fairly soon. Okay, get 3-bet here. I mean, this guy's only played a couple hands, so I think it's safe to. I mean, safe to assume he has a hand here. Go ahead and put in a 4-bet. Sometimes I'll flap there just to, because they're dealing with garbage a lot of the time. Top right. If it was heads up, I definitely would see bet this. With 2 people in there, I'm less inclined to. If it checks around again, I might fire out a c-bet now. This guy's at 3-bet a hand, so I'm inclined to think he has something really strong, and I have a good hand to crack you know, aces through kings, queens, ace king, and he's giving me good odds, so I will call even though I'm out of position. A lot of times fish will do that. They'll kind of minish three bet with aces or kings or something like that there, and then once you get along, they'll fire out full pot and think that they'll lure you in that way. All right, let's start sitting out tables here. So again, as I wrap up, contact me at Urban Surfer Poker if you are interested in getting coaching or finding out more about it. Check me up on 2+2. Got a thread on there, Urban Surfer, and then also on YouTube I've got a channel. Only a couple of videos so far, but check me up on there as well.